Joining Friday, teachers in the Carroll Independent School District in South Lake, Texas, took part in a training session on new guidelines for what books they're allowed to have in their classroom libraries. That training session came 4 days after the school board voted to formally reprimand a fourth grade teacher for having an anti-racism book in her classroom library, and 1 day after school administrators emailed teachers directing them to close their classroom libraries, quote, until they can be vetted. Why would teachers need their classroom libraries vetted, you ask? To line up with the new regulations in the Republican Texas House Bill 3979 and its soon-to-be updated version, the Republican Texas Senate Bill 3. You may know them as the critical race theory law. Critical race theory, or CRT, is an important topic, but for another time. In this case, the law to limit its teaching has manifested in a group of South Lake, Texas parents who've been fighting for more than a year to block diversity and inclusion programs in their district, something which Antonia Hilton and Mike Hicksenbaugh's podcast, South Lake, has been covering. Now, NBC News has obtained audio from last Friday's Carroll Independent School District classroom library training session from a staff member who secretly recorded it. Here is the guidance from Executive Director for Curriculum and Instruction, Gina Petty.
We are in the middle of a political mess, and you are in the middle of a political mess. And so we just have to do the best that we can. And so we're going to go and you're going to do what you do best, and that's to teach kids.
I think we're all just really terrified.
I think you are terrified, and I wish I could take that away. I do. I can't do that.
Just try to remember the concepts of 3979 and make sure that if you have a book on the Holocaust, that you have one that has other.
How do you oppose the Holocaust?
Believe me, that's come up.
Make sure you have a book with an opposing perspective to the Holocaust. That's the type of direction teachers are getting, to not teach singular perspectives, which could be, quote, considered offensive. How does that work for the Holocaust? Should teachers actually have pro-Holocaust propaganda? Hitler's Mein Kampf? Gina Petty, the woman whose voice you heard, the administrator in that recording, has not responded to NBC News' requests for comment. Following several days of outcry, however, the district superintendent apologized in an email to parents late Thursday, writing in part, quote, the comments made were in no way to convey that the Holocaust was anything less than a terrible event in history. We recognize there are not two sides of the Holocaust. However, in a statement to NBC News, a district spokesperson said that the guidance puts the district in compliance with Republican laws, which require teachers to offer multiple points of view for, quote, widely debated and currently controversial ideas, end quote, and should, quote, strive to explore such issues from diverse and contending perspectives without giving deference to any one perspective, end quote. So students don't feel, quote, discomfort, guilt, or anguish. Notwithstanding that the Holocaust isn't a currently controversial idea, this is the problem at the root of the misguided fight that's playing out across the country, a fear that accurate renditions of historical events might hurt some kids' feelings. I'm not even sure how that plays out, because the only viable opposing perspective to the Holocaust is that the idea that the Holocaust is a good thing. And this isn't about Holocaust deniers. That's just a lie or a conspiracy theory. South Lake School District is calling for views that oppose the commonly accepted view, sort of like climate change is real and the earth is round, that the Holocaust was a really bad thing. The idea that it wasn't somebody's belief, well, that's something we need to understand, because millions of people were killed for somebody's belief. But the way to teach that isn't to have pro-Holocaust books on a high school shelf next to objective history books about the Holocaust. That would be the ultimate in false equivalency. It is crucial for students to learn and discuss different perspectives and how and why bad things happen in history, including genocides, war crimes, slavery, in order to better recognize and respond to them in the future. There is a way to discuss important events in history and to learn about how to think critically about different perspectives. But once that perspective includes placing opposing views of the Holocaust on the same level as the almost universally accepted truth about the Holocaust, the American public education system has lost the plot.